Hi, we're Team 7, and we're talking about the topics from week 4. Week 4 centered around value creation and becoming a value creator. Would you be missed if you left your organization? Do you focus on bringing benefits to others or just focus on a goal? One strategy of companies is to become a broad system, a broad network, instead of just a narrow set of product offerings. And we talked about companies that do this well. Is the head of an organization slanted more as a leader than a manager? If they're more of a leader, then the company performance tends to be higher. We also talked about crafting a purpose and vision statement and effective goals. Ruchi also talked about developing a relentless focus on value creation. So that's constant and ongoing, not just a one-time thing. And the last topic was centered around using storytelling to persuade others in an organization to adopt a certain strategy. And we also discussed the elements that make a good story. 4 of the key elements were truth to the storyteller, truth to the audience, truth to the moment, and truth to the mission.
So areas that we found surprising and new was the way in which storytelling can be used for a variety of business activities that includes concepts like marketing, hiring practices, and external communication of the company's purpose or strategic initiatives. The idea of using storytelling as a way to create internal buy-in and unison among teams around a strategic initiative resonates nicely with tying individual incentives for employees back to the larger organization and the business, where you can align financial or promotional opportunities that a leader can set out for a strategic motion that they're tasked with.
So, in terms of if we live by these principles currently, or our teams or colleagues do, for the most part, we said we try our best to, but a lot of times, depending on what types of roles or positions we're in, sometimes it feels as though our ability to create value can be a little bit more challenging. And a lot of times that comes from the top down, depending on certain initiatives. We often feel that sometimes some of our teammates maybe don't embrace the value creation that the enterprise provides quite as frequently. We certainly try to do our best to create value within our own teams and then utilize storytelling, whether it be from a sales lens, if that's the type of industry you're in, or purely just convincing your team to go along with some kind of idea or protocol that you've come up with. So we try our best, but it can be definitely dependent on the situation.
We found value creation and storytelling to be the most important topics in week 4. We can define value in many ways. Therefore, we all have the freedom to define how we individually create value for our organizations. As value changes over time, it is important for everyone to maintain that relentless focus to ensure we are working on the right things and that we are following the path towards the organizational long-term vision. It's also important to ask ourselves, how do we compel others to follow our strategic vision? Storytelling allows leaders to become more impactful because it helps the audience to see their authenticity. As the HBR article, Storytelling Moves People stated, people are not inspired by reason alone. We can persuade people by uniting the idea with an emotion. The best way to do that is by telling a compelling story. This is an excellent persuasion strategy that helps connect employees to our purpose.
So for this week, when thinking about what we can do with what we learned, at least personally in my work life, I've always tried to create value through innovation and efficient work. I'd like to do better at adding value through seeing and utilizing the strengths of others more, and rather than just solely being inwardly focused on growth for myself and how I can help the organization, and rather than focus solely on me and growth of the organization through my skills, how can I encourage others to do the same or help others or utilize their strengths? I've always been in, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of person. And if something is working, good enough, I leave it alone and then I'll go work on something else. I'd like to try and capture some more value by allowing time to find the problems, even in the seemingly already effective. So instead of just, instead of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, become if it ain't broke, there might be something better, and allowing myself to continue to analyze and to think through things, that are seemingly working, but might be able to be improved. Also, while not wasting too much time on things that are working well. Another thing we talked about is great storytelling. Everybody who's really good at telling stories has kind of this X factor. I personally don't feel like I have it. I'm really good at telling stories and I'm a comedic and engaging, but there's just something that great storytellers have to pull you over into that great category. And that's something that I think we'd all like to develop and learn a little bit more about. So the 2 or 3 areas that we feel would be valuable for the class to discuss in our live webinar, the 2 things we talked about were, how do we become better storytellers? Is there a way to gain that X factor, that motivation skill in your stories? And how do we create a vision statement that's practical, focused, and ambitious?